What's good, ladies and gents? Welcome back to MKO Boxing, aka MKO Pugilism, where we talk all things boxing. Remember to like and subscribe on YouTube, follow on TikTok, all that good stuff. So let's get into this one. A bit of breaking news is that David Benavidez, very exciting fighter who now formerly at super middleweight world champion, now campaigns at light heavyweight, still undefeated, and he announced two guys from over here in the UK as possible next opponents, according to his own words. He said he's looking at either Callum Smith or Anthony Yarde. And we know over here in the UK, those are two of the top guys in the light heavyweight division. Certainly two of the top guys from over here. You've had them, Yard, Buatsi, Smith, all sort of decent guys there or thereabouts at world level. And yeah, according to Benavidez, he's looking at one of these two guys. And even Callum Smith, when he spoke about it as well, that this is a possibility, mentioning that they're in at least kind of the small talk stages where they're sort of beginning talks about this. So from Anthony Yard's side, I haven't really heard too much on their side of it, but I've heard a bit from Smith and Benavidez. Benavidez did mention both names. So, yeah, it looks like we are possibly going to get another very good fight at light heavyweight, either Smith versus Benavidez or Anthony Yarde versus David Benavidez. And yeah, for me, either one of these would be a terrific fight. All these guys sort of give their all. David Benavidez is very dangerous. He's a bit of a puncher. I wouldn't say he's the most prolific sort of one punch knockout artist, but he's a guy that is so active and so physical in there. He's a guy that is just basically just a non-stop guy that's just relentless. He's just pressure, 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 pressure all night long, and he can be quite accurate with his work. So a guy that style of David Benavidez of just the constant punching and sort of the non-stop work is it's problematic for anybody. I mean, even against a guy like an Artur Beterbiev, you'd favor Beterbiev, but Benavidez has the work rate to give him trouble. The same with Bivol. I mean, Bivol, I would pick Bivol all day long over him, but again, the work rate and the pressure and it's. I reckon it's one of these things where he's gonna give either one of those. He would give if he's given the opportunity. He would give either one of those guys a tough fight. Either way, just because of how hard he works and how sort of in your face he is. But as far as Smith or Yard, for me personally, looking at those two fights, I don't even think I really have a preference. I think I'd be quite happy to watch either one. Either Beterbiev versus Smith would be great, but so would Beterbiev versus Yard because we know Yard is a prolific puncher. He's a guy that gets stuck in. Admittedly, he's lost his big opportunities against Sergey Kovalev and against Artur Beterbiev. But I would say this that in those fights he did, in I would say more so against Beterbiev than the Kovalev fight because the Kovalev fight I felt he was losing handily, and he had a fantastic round in which he emptied the tank and sort of tried to stop Kovalev, and then he was exhausted and he got stopped there. But I thought the Beterbiev fight, he was actually competitive in the rounds, and Beterbiev was sort of always going to win that, but Yard made it competitive. He made it interesting. He made a fight of it. It was fight of the year for a reason, as Tunde Ajayi likes to say. So yeah, he looked good in those performances. Smith just coming off of a war versus Joshua Buatsi. So yeah, I think either one would be interesting because both whichever one gets the fight, it's going to be a war. And from what Benavidez was saying, he's looking to bring either guy over to America. And yeah, that'll be interesting. I'm sure that. Yeah, I'd be interested to see, whether that takes place, because I think there's also the argument that it could take place in the UK. I think Frank or Eddie Hearn, I think they'll probably, as much as Team Benavidez is all about America, I think you could make a strong argument for it to be over here. Or you never know, Turkey Al Sheikh might get his hand in his pockets and get it over in Saudi or something like that. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I just hope we get either fight. But anyway, that's a bit of breaking news there. I think I'll talk about who I think's going to win once either fight is announced. But let me know your thoughts for now. What do you think about that? David Benavidez versus either Callum Smith or versus Anthony Yarde. Either fight taking place in America at some point, I guess, towards the end of this year. Let me know what you think about that. And until next time, it's MKO Boxing, over and out.